Welcome back to Boring History, the channel where the past is so dull, so slow, and so extremely uneventful that staying awake becomes your biggest historical challenge. Tonight you will drift into sleep as we explore something that sounds exciting, but truly isn't. The horrible life of pirates, a history so miserable that even your dreams will beg for a vacation. So lie down, relax, and let the boring waves of history carry you far, far away. Most people imagine pirates as heroic adventurers, brave sword fighters, rum-drinking sea warriors. But the real pirates, oh no, they lived lives so difficult, so uncomfortable, so painfully unglamorous, that most of them wouldn't survive a week if they lived today. Their story begins on dusty docks, where unemployed sailors waited for work. Some hadn't eaten properly in days. Some owed money. Others just wanted adventure, but would quickly learn that adventure was mostly hunger, wet socks, and infections in places you don't want to imagine. When a pirate captain arrived looking for crew, he didn't offer salary. He offered opportunities, which is a poetic way of saying, "Come suffer with us, maybe survive, maybe don't." Imagine stepping on a pirate ship for the first time. It smells like wet wood, sweat, salt, rotting fish, and 47 men who believed bathing was optional for life. The deck creaks, the ropes moan, and a rat the size of a small cat walks by confidently, because honestly he owns the place. Your new roommates, a group of exhausted, sunburned men with missing teeth, questionable hygiene, and names like Red Nose John, One Ear Bill, or Soup Bucket Stephen. And the captain, he screams at seagulls and nobody corrects him. You've officially joined pirate life. Congratulations, you regret everything already. Pirate life was not thrilling action from sunrise to sunset. In fact, most days were painfully boring. Imagine long stretches of empty ocean, nothing to see, nothing to do, except adjusting wet ropes, the fixing holes in the ship, the eating dry biscuits, more adjusting ropes. Arguing about whose turn it is to adjust more ropes. And when pirates weren't working, they slept. Everywhere. On the deck, in the corner, on barrels. Some even slept standing up because they were too tired to fall. And the ship never stopped moving. It rocked and rocked and rocked, until every man felt like a half-cooked noodle with a headache. Forget the dramatic feasts shown in movies. Real pirate food couldn't impress a starving seagull. A hardtack, a biscuit so tough you could break a sword on it, the stale, salted meat, often green, whey peas, too sad to describe, the water filled with floating mysteries not recommended for humans. If you were lucky, the meat had only 2 types of worms. Hardtack was so hard that pirates joked. If you drop it in the sea, it sinks out of embarrassment. Sometimes pirates found a bucket of food that smelled weird, but they ate it anyway, because saying, "No thank you," was not an option. The rats were the true captains. They lived everywhere, in the food barrels, behind ropes, inside boots, even in hats. Some pirates made peace with them. Some named them. Some tried to train them. Some lost battles against them. A rat on a pirate ship lived a more stable life than most pirates. Illness was the biggest enemy on board. Diseases like the scurvy, the dysentery, fever-y infections, seafood poisoning, mysterious spots nobody wanted to discuss. The ship had no doctor, but there was always one pirate who claimed he knew medicine. He didn't. His cure for everything was usually rum or cutting something off. If you got sick, you had two options. One, survive. Two, don't. Both were equally likely. Now imagine trying to sleep on a pirate ship. The floor is wooden, hard, cold, always wet, always moving. Someone is snoring loudly. Someone is talking in their sleep. Someone else might be screaming because a crab crawled on him. You have one blanket. It is also wet. But eventually, the waves, the rocking, the gentle sound of ropes tapping the mast slowly pulls you into sleep, unless a cannon fires, which happens randomly. Sometimes pirates found a ship to attack, but battles were not heroic. They were chaotic, loud, confusing, and incredibly smoky. Pirates swung swords while trying not to fall on slippery decks. Gunpowder filled the air, cannons fired. People yelled instructions nobody could hear. And the entire time, someone probably forgot to tie the rope properly. That someone was usually the new guy you. Real pirates rarely found treasure chests full of gold. Most of their loot included the bar. As the long days at sea drift into each other, the pirates begin to lose their sense of time. Morning feels like evening. Evening feels like morning. And sometimes nobody knows whether it's Tuesday or Thursday or a day that doesn't even exist anymore. The ocean doesn't care. It moves slowly, endlessly, like a... As the long days at sea drift into each other, the pirates begin to lose their sense of time. Morning feels like evening. Evening feels like morning. And sometimes nobody knows whether it's Tuesday or Thursday or a day that doesn't even exist anymore. The ocean doesn't care. It moves slowly, endlessly, like a giant watery blanket that never stops breathing. The waves rise, fall, rise again, and the ship follows, rocking gently, as if the sea is trying to put the entire crew to sleep. But sleep never came easily for pirates. Even when nothing exciting happened, pirates worked constantly. They cleaned the deck with sea water that splashed back into their faces. They scrubbed ropes that were already clean. They patched sails that would rip again in the next storm. They lifted heavy barrels for no reason, except that the captain said so. Sometimes pirates scrubbed the deck 3 times a day, even if it already looked clean. Why? To maintain discipline, the captain said, which was pirate language for, I'm bored, you're bored. Let's all pretend we're doing something important. Even worse, many chores were repetitive, quiet, mendless, and almost hypnotic. The sound of ropes rubbing together, the rhythm of water sloshing in buckets, the steady thump of someone hammering wood. It all created a soft background that, if you weren't careful, could lull you straight into a nap, unless someone yelled at you, which happened often. Movies show pirates wearing stylish coats, fancy hats, and dramatic boots. Real pirates, not even close. They mostly wore whatever they found. The torn shirts, the mismatched trousers for one shoe, hats stolen from fishermen, fur coats stolen from people who didn't need them anymore, the belts tied together with rope. Clothes rarely fit, clothes rarely matched, clothes rarely survived more than a few weeks. Washing clothing at sea was almost impossible, so every pirate smelled like a combination of fish, sweat, salt, and regret. Even the ocean breeze couldn't fix it. Their outfits hung off them like soggy flags. Buttons were missing. Sleeves were ripped. And if someone's shirt looked clean, it was probably because it was brand new from their last borrowing adventure. But in the world of pirates, comfort was more important than style. And the only comfortable thing on a pirate ship was the wind. Nighttime on a pirate ship was not lively or exciting. It was quiet, almost too quiet. The stars sparkled above like tiny lanterns. The moon cast a silver glow over the waves. The ship rocked slowly, creaking softly with every movement. Most pirates slept wherever they could, curled in corners, stretched across barrels, wedged between crates, lying flat on the deck like planks of wood. Some snored so loudly that the ship's rats complained. Some talked in their sleep about treasure that didn't exist. Some dreamed about warm food, soft beds, or life on land where things didn't constantly smell like seawater and disappointment. And some stayed awake on night watch. Night watch was the most boring job possible. You stood, you stared at the dark ocean, you listened to the wind, you waited for something to happen. Most nights nothing happened. The sea was calm, the sky was calm. The only thing that moved was your patience. But once in a while, you might hear a splash, or see a shadow, or notice a strange shape in the water. Was it danger? Was it a sea creature? Was it a floating barrel? Usually, it was a floating barrel. Pirate ships were cramped, no privacy, no personal space, no quiet. You lived with the same people every day, heard the same voices every hour, smelled the same smells every moment. Arguments were common, very common. Some pirates argued over food. Some argued over chores. Some argued over whose turn it was to steer the ship. Some argued just because they were tired. And some argued because a rat stole their biscuit and they needed someone to blame. A typical pirate argument sounded like this. "I didn't take your boots." "Yes, you did." "No, I didn't." "Then why is one of them on your foot?" "It's not mine. It just looks similar." But most arguments ended quickly. Nobody wanted to waste energy. Pirates were too tired to stay angry for long, and besides, they needed each other to survive. Even Soup Bucket Stephen. One thing historians agree on's pirate ships smelled horrible. Imagine sea water, sweat, The rotting wood, her fish guts, the mouldy food, unwashed clothes, smoke, wet boots for rats, 40 left pirates who haven't bathed in months. Now imagine all of that mixed together, day after day, with no fresh air below deck. The smell was so powerful, so legendary, that some sailors said they could identify a pirate ship before they even saw it. Not by the flag. The pirate ship drifts onward, slowly slicing across the soft, rolling waves, carrying its tired crew into another day that looks exactly like every day before it. The sun rises gently, spilling pale light across the deck. It warms the damp wood, shines on the tangled ropes, glows softly on the sleepy faces of pirates who definitely did not sleep enough. A new morning at sea has arrived. But for pirates, morning is simply a reminder that the long routine continues. Most people start their morning with a hearty meal, something warm, something fresh, something comforting. Pirates, however, began their day with hardtack. A biscuit so ancient, so dry, so lifeless, that historians still debate whether it was food or a weapon. To soften it, pirates dipped it in water. But because the water was often stale, the biscuit tasted worse. Some pirates tapped the biscuit against the table to knock the bugs out. Others simply ate the bugs too, extra protein. Breakfast was not a moment of joy. It was a moment of survival, a quiet, emotionless bite into something that deserved a higher purpose, but had none. And once breakfast was over, the day truly began. For pirates, the ocean was both a friend and a reminder of endless emptiness. From horizon to horizon, there was nothing but blue. Blue sky, blue water, blue mood. Occasionally a bird would fly overhead, a sign of life, a small spark of hope. But even birds quickly realized the ship smelled unpleasant and didn't stay long. The only sounds were the gentle splash of waves, the rhythmic creak of wood, sails flapping lazily, and the soft grumbling of tired pirates. It created a peaceful monotony, the kind that slowly softens the mind, eases tension, and invites sleep. But pirates didn't sleep. They had work to do. Someone always had to climb the mast, not for fun, not for exercise, but simply to look around. At the top, the lookout pirate scanned the horizon for ships. He hoped to see a tall mast, a white sail, an opportunity. But most of the time he soared. High nothing, a more nothing, high absolutely nothing, high and one time a dolphin. Standing up there for hours, he swayed with the ship, left, right, until his legs felt like seaweed. When his shift ended, he climbed back down, his face sunburned, his hair tangled in the wind, his patience half gone. And someone else climbed up to continue seeing nothing. Every pirate captain believed he was the smartest man alive, which he wasn't. But the crew didn't argue, not openly. The captain would pace the deck with a dramatic expression, as if he were making deep, important decisions. In reality, his greatest daily challenge was choosing. Should we turn slightly left, or very slightly left? He yelled instructions even when nothing was happening. He shouted at clouds. He shouted at waves. He shouted at a gull once, and the gull won. The crew pretended to listen. They nodded, they saluted, they looked serious. But inside they were thinking, "I wish we had more biscuits, even the ones with bugs." Pirates were supposed to have exciting cannon battles, epic fights, explosions, action. Real cannons, however, rarely fired. Why? Because gunpowder was limited, cannons took forever to reload, cannonballs were expensive, cannons were heavy. 5 aiming was difficult, fun battles were rare. Still, the cannons needed to be cleaned every day. Pirates scrubbed the metal interiors, wiped away rust, moved them a few inches left, then a few inches right, then tied the ropes again. Some pirates named their cannons because they spent so much time with them. One pirate even wrote a poem for his cannon. It was not a good poem, but when you're stuck at sea for months, anything can become your friend. Nothing on a pirate ship was dry. Not the deck, not the sails, not the ropes, not the clothes, not even the pirates. Water leaked through the boards, waves splashed over the sides, rain came often. Moisture sat in the air like a permanent fog. Pirates woke up wet, worked while wet, and fell asleep wet again. Their boots sloshed, their beds felt cold, their shirts stuck to their backs. Some joked that they didn't remember what dry felt like anymore. And honestly, they weren't wrong. Despite everything, the wetness, the storms, the boredom, the smells, pirates respected the ocean. It was unpredictable, it was powerful, and it decided whether you lived or disappeared into the deep. Some pirates whispered to the water, hoping for calm weather. Some tossed coins overboard for luck. Some swore the sea had moods, gentle, playful, angry, or hungry. And some stared at the waves for so long that